I am trying to not only survive, but thrive in a world that started as just dirt. A super flat world with no structures and only a bonus chest to get me started. And using the iron that was dropped from zombies, I crafted a cauldron and waited for that to be filled by rain. I could then use more iron from the zombies to craft a bucket and move the water, and then use bottles dropped from witches to refill the cauldron, giving it an infinite water source. Then by modifying the mob farm, we could turn the zombies into drowns, eventually getting enough copper to craft a lightning rod so we can turn the pigs into zombie piglins. Killing the zombie piglins gives us gold, and with the apple that we got from the bonus chest, we can craft golden apples. Then using the weakness potion thrown by a witch, we can turn the zombie villagers into villagers, and with villagers we can make a villager breeder, an iron farm, but mainly we want to trade for emeralds, so when the wandering trader eventually spawns we can buy saplings. So we can get quite far, but there are still lots of restrictions. No villagers means no lava, which means no cobblestone, it means no nether and end dimensions, and aside from all the obvious building blocks, no cobblestone also means certain villager workstations can't be crafted, and also lots of the main redstone components can't be crafted. But not to worry, because we still have acacia, mud and packed mud, bone blocks, wool and mushroom blocks. What more could we need? I started on day one with some resource gathering, firstly chopping down a ton of acacia trees and killing lots of mobs. I checked the storage for resources and it's not good, and already it was nighttime, so I crafted some shears and sheared the sheep, harvested the massive wheat fields and spent a bit of time replanting them. I finished the first field as the sun started to rise and it started to rain, so I placed seeds in the composter for a few more bone meal and started on the second field. On day 2 continued the second field and got that all replanted, and after the second field was done I ended up with almost 19 stacks of wheat. Composted the remaining seeds and prepared for the biggest resource gathering job of collecting dirt to turn into mud. I bought a few shovels from my toolsmith, and because of the rain I didn't know what time it was, so I grabbed a bed and set off to spawn. Arriving at spawn it was already night, so I decided to sleep this one through. Using mini hood I marked out the corners of the spawn chunks. I started to dig a 1-block trench all the way around, but didn't even make it all the way around before the sun started to set. As the mobs had started spawning I abandoned this for now and got back to base. Placed all the dirt into a new chest and added everything else I had, but then I realised it would have been much more efficient to turn this into mud first and then dig it up. Never mind. I also needed a better shovel, so I crafted an anvil and combined my 4 diamond shovels into Unbreaking 3 and Efficiency 4, and then started turning the underwater dirt into mud. On day 4 I dug up the mud and ended up with way more than I thought I would, so I stored the mud with my wheat ready for crafting the packed mud later. I grabbed another bucket of water and headed back to spawn for some more digging. I decided to test my new shovel on dirt first, and definitely a huge improvement. Then the slimes got in my way and I broke my sword on their stupid faces. I got the perimeter marked out and the sun was already setting. I ran all the way across spawn through the mobs and tried not to attract too much attention. I made it to my boat and got back home, then spent the rest of the night chopping down trees. On day 5 I killed lots of mobs, mainly wanting skeletons, and crafted the bones into bone blocks. I then harvested the carrots and replanted those, and then used them to breed the pigs. Definitely going to need a lot of pigs if we want any more gold. I then marked out a staircase into a new area to try and give this base some height. I quickly ran out of packed mud, so crafted some more from the mud and wheat. On day 6 I built a staircase with packed mud bricks and acacia stairs, leaving gaps for built-in waterfalls, then built pillars on the side with acacia logs and packed mud brick slabs, and added some pillars at the bottom to fancy it up a bit. Then spent the night farming mud in the water. On day 7 crafted the mud into packed mud, added pumpkins and carpet to the pillars, then added the waterfalls into the stairs, and then spent the rest of the day and night building the next level of the stairs. On day 8 I continued the next level of stairs through the rain, then back to farming more mud through the rain, and the rain stopped just as the sun was about to set, so I decided to carry on mud farming through the night. Then obviously dug up all the mud and crafted it with the remaining wheat into packed mud. On day 9 harvested and replanted the wheat again, and after finishing both fields the day was almost over, so I decided to spend the night chopping down trees. Day 10 began with a thunderstorm, but as I didn't have a lightning rod it wasn't time to farm the zombie piglins. So I started on a huge dirt platform where the new mob farms are going to go, and hopefully will help with the wandering trader spawning. The thunderstorm stopped, but rain continued all day and night and stopped just before the sunrise. On day 11, resource gathering day again, so crafting campfires and breaking again into charcoal, harvesting pumpkins, sheared them first and then crafted them into jack-o'-lanterns, more sheep shearing to stock up on the wool, and I bought a new diamond axe and combined in an anvil to upgrade. Then the usual tree chopping through the night. On day 12 I started on a new mob farm, firstly just building the drop shaft and the water streams, and day 13 we continued with the mob farm, built the second layers of the walls, and got the trapdoors and the spawning platforms in. As I was collecting some materials I ran into the wandering trader, yes. So I took a deep breath and I hoped for another sapling, and no sapling but moss, and that is huge. So that means I can now get oak wood. And then I bought anything that I can't get any other way, and this time it just meant packed ice and coral. Then at night I realised I'd not lit up the mob farm, so no more work on that today, and decided to get on with using the moss to get some oak wood. When day 14 rolled around, I had a little bit of oak stocked up, and the trees also generate rooted dirt, so I maybe need to come up with a better way of getting this. Then back to the mob farm, I used logs for the walls as these will be seen from the outside, and then also spider-proofed spawning platforms with the carpet, and then finally just finish off the farm with a ton of acacia. For the roof, I spawn-proof with buttons, and I could have used slabs here, but I have a design in mind where this will be a sloped roof. So I jumped down into the water and checked on the mobs dropping. Nothing there because of this lot. I need to expand the water. But I'm not doing that at night, so back to chopping down trees. On day 15, set off in a boat to expand the water, and the slimes were helpful as always. Then back at the mob farm, some of the mobs were dying, so I needed to raise the slabs by 1 block, but there is a witch, so hopefully it'll get some redstone. Nope, just spider eye. I got to work on raising the killing area, but had a couple of creepers explode. A baby zombie escaped at one point, but other than that, it went well. And in the carnage, I even managed to get a few music discs. On day 16, I checked on the iron farm, and plenty there, so took as much as I can carry and traded with the villagers for emeralds. Harvested the carrots and replanted them, and then bred the pigs. I spent the rest of the day and into the night chopping down acacia trees, and it started raining, so I decided to do some fishing. Only got 3 fish and my fishing rod broke, but the sun was just starting to rise. On day 17, the rain turned into a thunderstorm. But aside from hoping the pigs all didn't get turned into zombified piglins, I started marking out some more sections of the build, which I think, looking at it now, is going to look like a temple. So I went back to the trading hall to get some more materials, and bad news, 4 of the villagers had been turned into witches. That's not good, is it? After narrowly escaping death, I killed the witches and got 2 pieces of redstone. Then bred some more villagers to replace those, and decided to sleep through the rest of the storm to avoid any more accidents. On day 18, I crafted some more packed mud, then got on with the next sections of the build by adding a tower to the side of the staircase to bulk this out a bit and make the whole thing look a bit more solid. On day 19, I moved villagers into the trading hall as a replacement for the toolsmiths I'd lost, and then traded with them for tools to level them up, and then traded iron for emeralds, and then started tearing down the original mob farm, and it started raining but carried on through the night. On day 20, I spent all day removing the old mob farm, and after getting the killing area from the old mob farm tidied up, I got another toolsmith in, then cycled through the trades for a farmer. On day 21, I continued cycling through the farm trades for half the day as I really wanted one that bought carrots and potatoes. And I did eventually get it and got him moved in. So I started building another platform at the top of the temple. Hopefully this will increase the chances of the wandering trader spawning, but I'm really getting through the packed mud doing this. Day 22, during the day I built a tower at the other side of the staircase, getting through tons of acacia and packed mud again. Then at night I started building the main platform at the top, joining the 2 towers, and this will probably become a courtyard area. So I decided to put a bit of a pattern in the floor, nothing too fancy, but at least it breaks up the packed mud, which is good as I'd completely run out again. As the sun rose on day 23, it started raining and I was completely out of mud, so I headed back to spawn to farm some more. I'm doing it at spawn so I can flood this area to remove any passive mob spawns, so I could possibly build a passive mob farm in the future. Then after flooding a suitable area, I used a bottle to convert the dirt into mud, forgetting that I can't do this on grass, so I had to work around it and wait for the grass to convert to dirt before I could turn it into mud. After spending most of the day doing this, there was plenty of mud, so dug that up as the sun set. And lots of mobs were interested in what I was doing, so after I'd collected all the mud, I spread the water towards the base to join up with the other water to give me a safe passage back. Ended up with almost 8 stacks of mud though, so considering I had to work around the grass, that's not too bad. I used the rest of the night to finish off the top platform and provide more space for the wandering trader to hopefully spawn. On day 24, after swiping away at the mobs in the mob farm, I decided this area needed tidying up a bit, so I started by placing the floor around it and finally started using the oak for a bit of contrast from the acacia. Then with the mud, I crafted most of it into bricks and built some walls around this room. Built staircases either side and another small platform outside with a staircase up to the main platform. With that though, that is 8 stacks of mud gone already. On day 25, back to resource gathering again. First harvesting the wheat and replanting it all, then harvesting mud outside the base, which will also help contour the land below the water so it's not flat and boring. On day 26, continued resource gathering, shearing sheep, chopping down trees, first the acacia, and then some azalea for the oak logs. On day 27, I've got the mob farm chest and hoppers in so we can automatically pick everything up, and more mud bricks on the mob farm building. At night, after gathering all of my bone blocks to switch up the materials a bit, I had a run-in with a loose zombie. I got on with building up the next few layers of the walls with bone blocks, and built more of the interior with staircases up to another level at the back of the building. On day 28, I built up the rest of the base around the mob farm with mud bricks for the flooring outside, then bone blocks on the walls and acacia pillars on the outside. Day 29, I continued building the lower part of the mob farm building building, added the pillars all the way around the outside, and then started on the decoration at the top of the wall to transition into the next section. Then the rain spoiled the view. I swiped away at the mobs and watched the loot flow in. A skeleton spawned in a dark spot on the wall and nearly killed me, but I bravely ran away and shot him from a distance. Built through the night until the rain stops, and that was another day over. Day 30, I really need to get a move on if I'm going to get all these builds finished, so I carried on building around the mob farm. Day 31, finished off the interior with some columns around the killing area, sorted some mob drops, added a few lanterns in to light everything up, then started work on an underground tunnel to connect the sections of the base so I don't have to run over the top every time. Day 32, slow progress so far, so I decided to get the front face built. No mud here, so we can just get on with placing the acacia and the bone block. Then finished off with a few details between the columns, trying to avoid using mud bricks to save them for the bigger structures below. On day 33, during the day I built up the decorative parts of the wall sections in front of the mob farm build, partly to look good, but mainly because I kept falling off. And then at night, I spent it all chopping down trees. Day 34, I decided to spend this day resource gathering as well, so I got on with converting the dirt underwater into mud. At night, it was time to dig it all up, and by the time I'd finished, it was the next day, and it had also started to rain. I got the packed mud crafted, but was out of wheat again, so spent the rest of the day harvesting the wheat, and obviously replanting. Should probably get some villagers to do this for me, shouldn't I? By the time I got the second field replanted, it was night again, so I just crafted up the rest of the packed mud. Then I got on with a few jobs I had been neglecting. Harvesting the carrots. After replanting them, I bred the pigs, and traded the remaining carrots with the farmer villager to level him up. Next trade was suspicious stew, so I bought one to see what it was. Blindness. Great. I bought some pumpkin pie to level him up a bit more, and unlocked golden carrots, which I'll definitely switch to when I run out of food. The rain stopped just as the day was nearly over. So on day 36, I wanted to make this look like it's not floating in the air, so need to build a structure underneath, but needed dirt for some temporary blocks, so I just dug some out from underneath. Built up with the dirt, and built this whole wall out of packed mud to make everything look much more solid and supported. Started placing dirt along the bottom of the new wall to terraform the area below, and eventually this will look like a hill that the temple is built on. After I ran out of dirt, the sun was setting, so I decided to get on with digging more dirt below. But first I needed a new shovel. I bought a cheap one from a villager and used that to repair my current one, and then spent the whole night stocking up on dirt. Day 37, I continued building up the terrain around the bottom of the wall, and after a full day of building, I ended up with somewhere close to the shape that I wanted, but I also wanted this to be grass, so I built a bridge out of dirt to the current grass for it to spread. At night, I discovered I had an issue on one of my platforms with slime spawning, so I dug this out as this is in the way of the building that will go here anyway, and I'll get all the mud back. Win-win. Day 38, I decided to have a big push and get as much of the mob farm building done as I could with the materials I have. Mainly acacia for this section, but then realised I was out of bone blocks, so spent the night swiping away at the mobs, sorting drops, and crafting up the bone blocks. Just before the end of the night, I was grabbing some building materials ready for the next day, and I heard a very welcome sound. The wandering trader. I already had emeralds on me, so checks the trades, hoping for another wood type, and he was selling oak saplings, which isn't great as I can already get oak wood from the azalea, but using oak saplings is definitely easier. I bought a few dyes because you never know if they'll come in handy, and also some coral blocks. I do regret not buying more dye though. Day 39, I planted the oak saplings far apart to get more later, and then finished off the bits I'd missed on the mob farm building. First the acacia planks, and then the bone blocks, and finally the few details on the outside with trapdoors and fence gates, with a few lanterns for lighting so I can remove the torches. I added the same detail blocks to the front of the building, then I was really low on acacia again, so spent the night chopping down trees. On day 40, the rain continued, so I decided to carry on with resource gathering. First the wheat fields, as I'm going to need a lot more packed mud to finish this build. The rain stopped just as I finished the first field, and I got my first good look at the mob farm from down below. Definitely looks good, but I really need to get a roof on this. Decided to do a bit of trading, so grabbed some iron, dumped all the poppies in the composter, and traded iron with the toolsmiths, leveled the new one up, and then bought a couple of efficiency 2 axes. Combined them on an anvil with my current one to repair it, so I now have efficiency 4. And then it was already night, so I put my new axe to use and stocked up on some more wood. And after chopping down the trees, I noticed the grass hadn't spread much, so I grabbed my silk touch axe and I dug up a grass block to place on the dirt hill to hopefully speed things up. On day 41, I planned to build the other sides of the mob farm building, but started with the platform and supporting walls. This ended up taking the rest of the day and night. Day 42, I built one of the remaining sides of the mob farm building, and this definitely looks more like a complete structure now. Also had to finish the platform to the side, which I had missed. On day 43, I built the final wall of the mob farm, but running really low on acacia again, which is not surprising when you look at this thing. So of course I had to start the next day chopping down acacia. I then chopped down the oak and remembered I can use oak trees to get bees, so I bone milled the grass for flowers, and built up 8 blocks and built a row of slabs to stop the oak trees growing too tall, and this way we won't get the huge trees and side branches. So I planted the oak saplings below and added the flowers to the side. As the sun set, I decided to get on with some trading, so raided the iron farm chest and traded with the toolsmiths. Then spent some time removing the items from the old mob farm chest as I wanted to use this for wool. Doing this, I also discovered I had left a load of building materials in here, including a few stacks of acacia. Finished the night by shearing the sheep. On day 45, I got on with building the roof of the mob farm building so I could finally call this done. This is completely built out of slabs, so I started with a trim of mud brick slabs around the edge, then built the inner part of the roof out of acacia slabs and spawn-proofed the top slabs with acacia buttons. Got the first half of the roof done during the day and did the other half at night. The rain started just as I got the roof finished and switched to decorating the front of the build, just using acacia stairs, but I quickly ran out of it. Day 46, I restocked and finished off the front with a few fences. Almost had a disaster when I fell off my dirt scaffolding, but made it to the water. Then did the same design on the back, and this build is finally done. Most of the oak trees had grown, but no bees this time. Instead of redoing this, I decided I wanted a change, so I set off to spawn to see if I could complete my animal collection. This isn't smart when it's raining, as I have no idea what time of day it is. As I got there, the sun started to set, but luckily I'd already spotted a chicken. I got it on a lead and led him back to the water just before the mobs started spawning. Got it in a boat and then back to base. I tried my luck with an egg, but not this time. Then got on with chopping down the oak trees and removing the leaves with a hoe to speed up the sapling drops. Then as the rain stopped, I replanted to hopefully get some bee nests. Finished the night with some basic jobs around the base, shearing sheep, harvesting carrots, and finally breeding pigs. On day 47, I headed back to spawn to get some cows. Found one straight away and a second chicken, then a third, but struggled to find another cow, so I had to cull the pigs and sheep. Still no luck, so I just dragged the ones I had through the water, across the bridge, and tied them to a fence to deal with later. As it was still daytime, I headed back to spawn in search of the second cow. The first passive mobs I saw were horses, which I've been killing so far, but now I want to breed horses, so I left these here. Luckily though, I spotted a group of cows in the distance, so I grabbed 3 with my remaining leads and brought them back. Wasn't quick enough to avoid the mob spawning, but still managed to get them home. I spent the rest of the night fishing to see how many saddles I can get. 0. The answer is 0. Day 48. Still no bees. I remembered I bought some dyes but not used them, so I dyed some sheep and did some selective breeding for the colours I wanted. Sheared the sheep to stock up on wool, then got on with an upgrade to the underground tunnel. I redesigned this as a walkway over a cow pen. Firstly, expanded the dirt platform where the cows will be, stole a few blocks of grass from the tree farm, and sheared the sheep concentrating on brown and light grey. I placed the grass in the cow farm, and on day 49 started building with the wool but had nowhere near enough, so I decided to focus on 1/4 as the whole area is going to be split up by the walkway and the supporting walls below. Finished off the minimum to contain the cows, but had to use dirt as a placeholder for the brown wool. I carried on shearing the sheep, and moved the cows into this pen and started breeding them. I then started building the walkway above the cow pen, as this is all just oak slabs and mud bricks. Day 50, I got all that finished and bred sheep and sheared the wool. Definitely need a bigger area for these now. It started raining, so I did a bit of fishing through the night. As the sun rose on day 51, the rain turned into a thunderstorm, but I still didn't have any copper for a lightning rod, and I'd broken my original one, so I tried to get some from the mob farm by blocking off the mobs and placing water to turn the zombies into drowned. Got one fairly quickly, but no more after this. The thunder stopped and turned back to rain, so I gave up on the copper and I got back to shearing sheep and chopping down trees. The rain stopped, but the day was almost over. So I got back to finishing the first section of the cow farm, remembering to breed the cows while I was here, and I decided to change the design of the walkway walls to just bone blocks instead of the brown wool. Partly for a change, but mainly to save the wool. I did keep getting confused on which were the walkway walls, but got there in the end. I also added some fences in the corners to ease the transition a little bit. On day 52, with more sheep shearing, then straight back to the cow pen and got the first quarter finished. This section also overlapped a slime chunk, so placed some leaves to block them from spawning, and I like the look, so placed a few more leaves around. I spent the rest of the day building up the other sections with the resources I had, and I had pretty much everything I needed. I got the second section done to a stage where I could let the cows through, so did that and bred them again, but I was completely out of bone blocks, so spent the night at the mob farm slaying mobs and crafting bone blocks. Day 53, usual morning routine of shearing the sheep, and then chopping down the oak trees where I still haven't got any bees. Bit more sheep shearing, found a few stacks of light grey wool in my other storage area, which was a bit annoying but also very helpful. I got on with placing the light grey wool in the cow pen and got another section built up enough to the stage where I can let the cows in. Bone blocks is a struggle now though, so may need to rethink my plan of using those instead of wool. Got on with the outer walls around the walkway above the cow pen, firstly with the mud brick slabs and then light grey wool all the way around the edge. On day 54, quick swipe at the mobs for bones. On my way to the sheep pen, I noticed my first bee, so using my silk touch axe, I moved the nest away from the trees and chopped down the trees in the hope that I can get some more bees for breeding. I sheared the sheep mainly for brown wool. I really wish I'd bought more brown dye. Back to the cow farm, got the brown wool in the last section done. I decided to use white wool instead of the bone blocks. I thought this would be a temporary placeholder, but I actually preferred it. So after opening up the last pen, I ripped out all of the bone blocks and replaced with the white wool. Day 55, added the final details to the cow farm in the tunnels to each area, so just need a bit more brown wool to finish everything off. So got on with shearing the sheep, and chopped down the oak trees, then noticed the bee nest was full. So dug down so I could place a campfire below, got some charcoal and crafted a few campfires and placed one below. Then harvested some honeycomb with shears, and this allowed me to craft a beehive. This is great for the bees once I get a few more, but these are also great building blocks. I then worked on breaking the campfires, crafting more and repeating this process. This doubles up the charcoal every time at the expense of logs and sticks. So I did this until I ran out of logs. I decided to put the campfires in the towers at the base of the stairs to give a bit more life to the area. To improve the effects, I grabbed some wheat from the wheat fields, crafted it into hay bales and added that below. The night was nearly over, but I had time for the last sheep shearing session. Day 56 started the day with rain again, so got on with some resource gathering. Obviously starting with the wool, then I grabbed the bottle and got back to the mud grind. By the time I got a small section of mud converted, the day was almost over, so dug this up, crafted it into pack mud, and got on with placing the ceiling in the cow farm. This continued into the next day and used up most of my mud, so textured this a bit with the brown mushroom blocks. I added a trim of oak around the edge to raise the centre section, got the first row done and didn't light up the top, so a creeper dropped in to say hello. Should have used my bow, but never mind. I got there and dealt with the only other intruder, lit it up to keep it safe, and then started on the second row of oak stairs. This continued into day 58, but finally got it done and removed all of my dirt scaffolding. Remembered to breed the cows, as that's the whole point of this area. Then made a start on the brown wool around the edge of the upper wall, but I knew I didn't have enough to make it all the way around. Almost completed one layer though, so not bad. Harvested some more wool, and got on with placing the next layer of the ceiling with acacia slabs above the oak stairs. Could only get half done from above as I'd already placed the floor above on the other side, so back to scaffolding on dirt. On day 59 I got the acacia section finished and removed the dirt scaffolding, then fed the cows again. I really hope the wandering trader shows up with some sugarcane soon. Placed the next layer of brown wool along the outer walls, and I almost had enough. So placed the white wool on top, and by the time I had got all the way around, that was another day almost over. This was just meant to be a little side project, but I've spent over 11 days on this so far. Nearly there though, so placed another trim of oak stairs at the top of the walls, all the way around the edge. A zombie dropped down on me from above, so definitely have some lighting issues. Got that fixed before any creepers joined the party, and then filled in the middle of the ceiling with oak slabs. I finished it off by the next day, and I thought that was it, but then realised I needed more brown wool to finish off the lower walls. You know the drill, shearing sheep, then harvested some honeycomb, finished off the cow pen, but then noticed one of the walkway walls needed more brown wool as well. More shearing for wool, and I finished off the last few blocks. Even though this was supposed to be just a tunnel, I'm glad I had this idea and spent the time to get this done. But I can't stop yet. Now it's time to deal with the slime chunk at the other side of the platform, so slabbed this with acacia, had a visit from a witch while doing this, and found another dark spot from my recent building activities. Then built a staircase and platform above with the mud brick slabs. On day 61 I started the day with a bit of trading, mainly because I was out of food, but it's always good to stock up on emeralds. I then wanted to build a large section for farming, but didn't have much dirt, so set off to spawn to go get some. Obviously the slimes were really helpful. I dug out a slime chunk, and one chunk as it turns out is 12 stacks of dirt. So I decided to do another slime chunk, and that should be enough for now. With a full inventory of dirt, I got back in my boat and headed back home. As night fell, I stocked up on carved pumpkins to craft some jack-o'-lanterns. I then started placing dirt below the cow pen, adding in jack-o'-lanterns for lighting, and once I was happy with the size, I spent the night expanding the width to give plenty of space for farming trees and crops, but left one chunk out as it was a slime chunk, so it needed to figure something else out for that. On day 62, I chopped down the trees in the current area and built a staircase from the cow pen to the farming area. Set up a row of slabs to grow the oak trees below, and by the time I collected all of the saplings, it was night again, but got all of those planted and then added a few grass blocks to transform the dirt. I also placed flowers alongside the saplings to get the bee nest to spawn, and wasn't happy with the size of the platform, so I expanded it on both sides. I finished expanding the platform by the next day and removed the blocks that were in a slime chunk. Decided to leave this for now though. I had chests piled all over the base, and as the base is growing, it's taking me more and more time to find things. Time for a storage area. So I laid down a floor with the oak slabs, mocked up a simple facade along the same lines as the mob farm buildings, then just went with the mud bricks on the inside. Placed down a few chests, then spent the night moving all the items from everywhere around the base, and of course it started raining. On day 64, carried on moving things across to the main storage, trying to keep things organised. Finally the rain stopped, but still had lots to sort. This ended up taking most of the day and night, but eventually got it done, and this should make finding things much easier. I made a start on the design around the storage building, which will be a tower to be duplicated at the other side with another staircase in between. By the time I got the facade done, I was already into day 65, so I built up the side walls using the same design, and by the end of it I was completely out of pack mud, so couldn't do the roof. Back to the mud conversion. Day 66, I got back home and crafted the mud into packed mud, and then used this to put the roof on the storage building, and then back to resource gathering, chopping down trees in the new farming area, planted some acacia saplings to stock up again, and expanded the dirt platform a bit more, making sure to avoid the slime chunks, remembering to breed the cows, and decided to try again getting some more copper, as I only needed one more ingot for a lightning rod. I placed water on the outside this time with it flowing in, but this only covers 1/4 of the killing area, so it didn't work very well. I moved the water 1 block closer, and that didn't work well either. Tried a few different things and had a few close calls. Day 67, I realised I just needed some signs to hold the water at eye level, and it worked much better as far as drowns converting. But a bit of a disaster when a creeper exploded. All the mobs could get out, and because of the water, they didn't take any damage. I tried fighting them off at first, but then I realised I needed to disable the mob farm. So I pillared up and jumped down into what I thought was above the farm, but I'd actually fallen into it. So I managed to escape without causing any more problems, and went over to break some blocks and place some torches to disable the farm. I then sailed away in a boat to leave all of my problems behind me, but this also meant the mobs would despawn. I got back to fix up the damage, and there was only a few zombies left that were holding items. There was even a drowned, which also dropped the last copper ingot I needed for the lightning rod. I love it when a plan comes together. So I got the killing area fixed up, then back into the farm, and broke the torches to get everything working again. Definitely not a waste of a day. Day 68, I spent a bit of time chopping down trees ready to get the other mob farm building done, and repaired a bit more creeper damage. Took some packed mud and built up the front wall of the big platform on the other side to mirror the one I'd already done. Not going down to the water, as this will have a grass hill on the front as well. I wanted to get the hill done next, but was completely out of dirt again, so instead built the other floor of the mob farm building. I keep calling it a mob farm building, but probably won't have a mob farm in here. Initially anyway, as I want to get on with some other things. On day 69, I went back to spawn to kill a few slimes, but mainly because they were in the way of the dirt that I wanted. Once my shovel was nearly broken, I had a fair amount of dirt, so I headed back to base in the rain, just in time for the sunset. As I got back, the thunder started, so now was the time for gold farming. I raced to my storage area, grabbed the copper, crafted a lightning rod and placed it at one side of the pigmen, so hopefully they all don't get turned and I can repopulate. The thunder seemed to have stopped, so I went to buy a diamond shovel to repair my current one, and when I came back outside, lightning struck and we have some zombified piglins. I swiped away at them and was safe outside of the fence. The lightning just kept coming and lots of the pigs were turned. The thunderstorm seemed to go on forever, and I ended up with 8 gold ingots, so could cure another villager for cheaper prices, or craft a set of powered rails. So many choices. Eventually, the lightning stopped, and I was just left with the rain. I got my shovel repaired, but the rain just kept coming. So on day 70, I decided to go back to spawn for more dirt. Eventually, the rain actually stopped, so I got back in time for another sunset, but this should be enough dirt for now. I then invested it in a bell, as this will help with the wandering trader spawning. I placed it down on my largest platform, so the wandering trader spawns will be centered here. I spent the night chopping down trees, and then on day 71 grabbed the dirt and started building the hill in front of the other platform. I spent all day doing this, and of course left dark spots for the mobs to spawn. As the sun rose on the next day, I had finished a basic shape of the hill, which definitely needs more work, but at least it is not a floating platform anymore. Day 72, I got on with building the other mob farm building that won't have a mob farm. For now. Firstly finished off the stairs with wood, then built up the outer walls of the basement area with mud bricks. Definitely going to need to get some more soon. I am going to have to suffer the occasional slime to deal with until I get this finished and built up with mud bricks all the way around the other side. So I got all the staircase and path done at one side, used an excessive amount of bone blocks, a crazy amount of mud bricks, and then got the staircase done at the other side. On day 73, I remembered I hadn't bred the pigs after the thunderstorm, so harvested the carrots and bred them. Then spent the rest of the day farming mud, but when I came to craft it into mud bricks, I discovered I didn't have enough wheat, so I harvested some more. As the night was nearly over, I crafted the mud bricks and I was about ready to get this building finished. On day 74, I spent all day and night building up the bottom layer of the building, lots of bone blocks and lots of wood. On day 75, continued the grind of building through the rain and only managed to get a few of the upper floor pillars in. Started the next day off with a bit of building, and as the rain stopped, I ran out of wood, so back to chopping down acacia. Really need to get this building spawn proofed as well. But anyway, back to the building up the outside of this structure. As the sun came up on day 77, I had made decent progress and still had plenty of wood, but was running low on bones. So I decided to make an adjustment to the mob farm by having them drop further to die from fall damage, so I can build up a stock of bones automatically. Then at night got back to building. On my way to check on the mob farm, I had a visitor, stupid creepers. Day 78, I started the day with a bit more acacia chopping, grabbed the bones from the mob farm and crafted into bone blocks, and then got back to building. Plenty more progress on the front wall, as we all know that's the one that counts. But it was really high up and scary without an elytra or good armour. So before the night was over, I worked a bit on the barrier on the edge of the platform next to the building. Day 79, I continued with the front facade, and after placing all the little details, I finally got this finished. Noticed my helmet was at 1 durability, and I'd lost 2 pieces of armour, so I repaired this helmet, as the enchantments are probably the best I'm going to have until I get sugarcane. So I got myself some more armour, but hopefully we'll have a visit from the wandering trader again soon. Anyway, the front might be looking good, but there is still a long way to go on this building. I remembered to breed the prigs, and I admired the temporary temple building from afar, then continued building up one of the walls through the night. And this continued well into day 80. I got most of it done, but the issue as always was the bone blocks. I was also running low on acacia, so I took a break from building to chop down some trees. This also meant I was closer to the mob farm, so I had a few more bone blocks to craft. At night I bred the pigs, then harvested the wheat as I thought composting the seeds might get me more bone meal than the mob farm. Day 81, I continued with the building, got the bone blocks in, played hide and seek with the zombie, and got the corner details in. At night, continued on the back wall, and then I saw the wandering trader's llamas. Finally, he has spawned. I ran over with the stack of emeralds I've been carrying, hoping for sugarcane or at least another tree type, but no, this was terrible. No sugarcane, no saplings, just seeds, dyes, moss and blue ice. I bought the dyes anyway and the blue ice, as I can't get these any other way, but then I let my disappointment be known. On day 82, building the back wall of the mob farm building, got all the acacia in, lanterns at the top and the corner details in, and spent the night chopping down trees. On day 83, I got on with the last side of the temple building, and of course it started raining. Worked all the way through the night, and apart from 2 blocks of missing bone blocks, I eventually got it all done. Back to stocking up on acacia for the rest of the night. On day 84, started the day chopping oak, and the rain eventually stopped, and after crafting a measly few bone blocks, I turned all of my mud bricks and acacia into slabs. I then got on with building the roof, starting with the trim of the mud bricks around the edge, did this all the way around with a peak at the front and at the back, and then got on with placing the acacia slabs. This took forever and I got through the first batch of slabs that I crafted, but luckily had another stack of logs, so I turned most of them into slabs and then went through the rest of the night to get the roof finished. I still needed to spawn proof with buttons, but was out of wood, so just placed temporary torches for now. On day 85, I finished the detail under the peak of the roof with the stairs and the fences, but as I turned all of my acacia into slabs for the roof, I quickly ran out, so only got the front side done. I built up the walls at the front, as this was mostly mud brick slabs and walls, and as I got to the end, I heard a very welcome sound. At the bottom of the wall was another wandering trader already. I honestly didn't expect to get another one before the end of the 100 days, but here he is, and he's got dark oak. Yes! I immediately bought those and a few vines, but I was out of emeralds, so ran to get more and bought as much as I could. I didn't need the rest as I could craft pink and yellow dye. Podzol isn't really worth it as it doesn't spread, and if I get spruce saplings it will eventually be easy to get. I celebrated by killing the drowned that had been hanging around and even got a copper ingot. This was a good day. As the sun set, I planted the dark oak at the back of the tree farming area, then spent the rest of the night trying to get a decent fortune axe to help with the saplings. On the way back, I discovered an accidental mob farm, so got that cleaned up, and spent the rest of the night chopping down trees waiting for the dark oak to grow. And just as the sun rose, the first dark oak tree was ready, so I manually harvested all the leaves with my fortune axe to hopefully get another 4 saplings. On day 86, I got 5 dark oak saplings from the first tree, so great result. And after a little bit of time chopping down the oak trees, the other dark oak grew, so back to fortune in the leaves, and this one went even better. So overall had enough for planting 4 trees. I ended up spending all day farming every tree type I had, but this was definitely needed to keep my wood supply above 0. I really needed to extend the water from here as well, as there were so many mobs spawning just at the edge. After chopping down the trees, I had a few ideas for this area, but I decided I shouldn't get distracted and get the front buildings finished. But as always, I was out of packed mud again. So on day 87, got back to farming mud, and crafted it into packed mud, and then got on with building another building to mirror the storage room. I continued this into day 88 and building up the whole room with all the packed mud I had left, but as night fell I was out again, so I got on with farming mud again. On day 89 I crafted the mud into packed mud but ran out of wheat, so I harvested enough to get the rest done and replanted the seeds and dumped the rest. Then got on with some building to finish off the storage building's twin and started with the expensive packed mud floor, but then thought it made more sense to finish off the wall details as that's what will be seen from below. I got that done and then finished off the floor, remembering to add some lighting to avoid the accidental mob farms. Added a staircase in between the 2 pillars for another section above, and continued this into a small platform made out of wood, partly to save mud, but also this is hopefully going to be inside eventually with a huge building above. Maybe comment down below if you want to see a 300 days, just saying. Got the next section of the stairs tied into the top platforms, and this will cover the tree farm if I can ever get enough mud. For now though, it looks pretty good. Day 90, with the end of this 100 days fast approaching, I decided to expand the water further out to mob proof when I was in the tree farming area. I spent most of the day doing this, but at night it was definitely worth it. No more mob spawn while I'm here. I had a building inspection from a baby zombie riding a chicken, and traded some iron for emeralds and bought some more golden carrots. I harvested the fully grown wheat field, ready for some more packed mud, and then on day 91 went to shear the sheep and found a load of mud bricks that I'd stashed there and forgot about. I got all that put back and sheared the sheep, so I had some stock for another idea. I dyed some of the white sheep green as I want some more green wool, and still had an issue with slime spawning in the second big building, so I used some buttons to spawn proof it, and as it turned to night it started raining. I realised I hadn't finished off the back of this building, so got that done, and I had the right amount of fences on me to finish I love it when that happens. And on day 92, the rain continued and I found some mobs hiding. So after getting rid of those, I built the side platform of the second temple building, going for lots of block decoration in these smaller areas to keep them interesting. Eventually, the rain stopped and I raced to get this done before the sunset. Got all the platform done, the top layers of the wall around the edge, and finally all the decoration at the top just before the sunset. And then made a start on expanding the dirt hill around the platforms. The first bit went through a slime chunk, so I'll remove that for now, and instead concentrated on going up high next to the existing walls to save on mud later. Day 93, I spent the day building up the dirt hill around the outside to make everything look like it's not floating, also filling in some of the gaps I left earlier, and of course it had to start raining, so I placed a few blocks of grass to spread and hid some jack-o'-lanterns under leaves for the lighting. Then the lightning came, so I ran over to the pig pen to farm some gold. The pigs were running a bit low as I hadn't really been keeping on top of breeding them up, so I attracted them away from the lightning rod and bred them up a bit. On day 94, as the sun rose on the next day, I thought the thunderstorm was over, but stuck around farming carrots just in case, and eventually there was another lightning strike, but not many zombified piglins as I'd moved all the pigs to the other side. So I traded some of the extra carrots with the farmer villager. The thunderstorm passed, so top priority now is to breed up the pigs, but from that I ended up with 6 gold ingots, so not too bad. Definitely need to be more prepared for this though. And then the rain stopped, and while I was over here I crafted some shears and got on with shearing the sheep to get some wool for spawn proofing the slime chunks, and then ended the day by finishing off the mud wall with the last of the packed mud, then back to building up the hill through the night. I also built in the slime chunk and spawn proofed it with either green or brown carpet, moss carpet or leaves, which gives quite an overgrown effect, and this definitely needs doing everywhere else. I still had a bit of dirt left, so I got on with building up the hill at the other side, and no slime chunks yet, so I didn't have to worry about anything other than lighting. A little time later I had made some good progress, but I was all out of dirt and didn't have enough mud to complete these walls, so back to mud farming through the night, and definitely didn't remember the lighting on the new section. Also grabbed some dirt from down below the base where there wasn't much water. On day 96 I built up some more of the hill, then filled in the side wall with packed mud, then just expanded the island out a bit more, remembering to light it all up this time, and made some decent progress, but was already out of dirt. So back to digging up dirt below ground. On day 97, we're back to building up the hill around the edge of the platform, but can't spend too long on this as the end of this 100 days is right around the corner. At night, I got the last part of the wall done and spammed a few leaves and bone meal to make the area look a bit more overgrown. On day 98, I used the building opposite the storage to set up a cooking area. Obviously, I can't craft furnaces, so crafting up a few campfires, breaking them for more charcoal, and using that to craft more. Once I had enough, I set up some storage for the cooked items and ran a hopper line into them and placed the campfires on top. I tested this out with all the food I had, and most of it got picked up with a few popping off into the middle. I tried adding a few trapdoors, but again, don't want to waste too much time on this. I harvested some honeycomb after forgetting about the bees for such a long time, and definitely need to set up a new area for this. 300 days anyone? Bred the pigs and sheared the sheep, and sold some white wool for emeralds. I went on the first hill and spammed some leaves and bone meal. I also swapped out the torches for hidden jack-o'-lanterns. On day 99, I started the day by making a baby bee. I've really been neglecting the animals, so I bred the pigs, then sheared the sheep, and bred the cows, which I wasn't too fussed about this one as I never did get sugarcane from the wandering trader, which would be such a big deal to get some librarian villagers on the go. And with that, the sun was already setting, so I spent the last night chopping down trees as I'm definitely not done with this world. Also used the shears to grab some leaves for decorating the hills. On the last day, I rushed around to complete everything, placing a few more beehives and bred some bees, placing the leaves on the hills to make these look nice and overgrown. Then round the side I noticed a wall that I'd missed, so got the packed mud and acacia in there and carried on with plenty of leaves and bone meal, and of course it had to rain for the last day. So through the night I carried on placing leaves and replacing torches at the other side. And as the sun rose, that was the end of these 100 days. Overall though, I'm very happy with how this has gone. From where I started with just dirt and the restrictions that are part of this challenge, I ended up with a pretty decent build in the first 100 days, and after another 100 days, this is now the beginnings of a fairly epic temple, so I think it's safe to say I need to carry this on, and I am pretty sure there will be a 300 days in this world. So if you have enjoyed this video, please do leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching everyone, bye bye.